be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet, dancing in the streets of gold. We'll be dancing in the streets, dancing at his feet.
Well, welcome to Let Us Reason Together. I'm surprised. Anyway, I was actually still pulling something up, Mark.
No, let's go with this one.
Let us reason together, says the Lord, come down. Let us reason together, says the Lord, come down. Let us reason together, says the Lord, come down. Let us reason.
All right. Now that sounds like it goes with Let Us Reason Together a little bit better than what I just heard. But you know what? It's an exciting day. It's a Monday. It's the second day of the week. And Mark and I get the privilege of being here with you. I'm sitting here looking at my picture and my nose looks red because I was really blessed yesterday. And well, before I say that, I'm going to say who I am. I'm Sandi Craig, and I'm broadcasting right here from Amarillo, Texas, at Life of Worship. Yeah, we're not at the house today because AT&T, and I'm going to say the name because I'm very frustrated right now. They said, oops, we accidentally shut off your internet. And it's going to be days before we can restore it. Yeah, that's really nice of them. Anyway, so this is why we're here. And who am I? My husband and I pastor this congregation right here, Life of Worship in Amarillo. And we meet many times a week, but to Word Study, we meet at 2 p.m. Central, and we do that on Zoom, and you can join us. And for our services, we meet at 5 p.m. Central, and you can join us on YouTube Live at our YouTube channel, Life of Worship Amarillo. Subscribe, click the bell so you get notified. And there's a lot of stuff we do. Anyway, we also do Walking in Spirit and Truth Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central. That's tomorrow night, folks. Yeah, you need to tune in for that. And what else? We do the next chapter. I do the next chapter along with Mark and Joe and Sherry on Thursdays at this time slot, 8:45 a.m. Central. Now, a few more things. I want to remind you guys that we have Sukkot 2020 coming up with Life of Worship, and it's Clear Vision 2020, Yeshua the Waymaker, and you can sign up for that. Let me know. I'll send you the papers. Click or go to our website and just click on the registration papers, and please ignore the days, because the days that Sukkot is October 2nd through the 10th, Friday through Saturday, and the days on the paper, I can't get them to change. I need a webmaster to come help me figure out why it's not moving. But that's my problem. That's not yours. And that's okay. Also, we have a prison ministry. And if you know of somebody who is in the system, who desires to get to know Torah, who desires to have a relationship with Yahweh, to study and to learn and to grow, please give us their name and their number and how to reach them, but also encourage them to write us so that I can talk to them personally and know where their heart is. And I try to also give stuff, answer their questions on scripture and all sorts of things. But anyway, let us know. But that's enough of me. Whew, that's a lot of me. I want to go ahead and say hallelujah. I'm not doing this alone. As you've already heard, I've mentioned his name. Who is it? It's Mr. Mark David Smith. Come on down and join us on this show. You seem so far, far, far away. And further away. He's going into the darkness. Stop!
Come back!
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's see. Is this really what you want right here?
No, it works for me. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I've seen that face for a long time.
And like most people, pretty tired of it. Sandi Craig does a lot. We know that. You're busy. I'm busy. All God's children are busy these days. And we were just talking before we went on, and sometimes I just I'm just done with everything that's going on. And one thing happens, and almost immediately something else comes right in behind what happens, and just counteracts it. I mean, it's just so many things. And Sandy, I gotta say, and I just want to go on with the rest of my life and enjoy my time while I'm here on Earth. And it used to be that I looked forward to the greater Exodus. We've all heard of the greater Exodus, and Sandy and I are somewhat believers in that doctrine, and we understand it, and that's why we believe in it. But anymore, it's like if it happens, it happens. There's no reason to pursue it. I don't know. I'm just kind of, kickback mode anymore. My wife says I don't know how to rest, but just watch. That's all I can say.
Well, I got to do that. I was going to say this story now that you talked about resting, because you know me, Mark. I'm always, even John. We were in our above ground water storage system several days ago in the evening, late, like 10 o'clock. And I usually read to him, and I couldn't find my headlight so I could read to him because I'm always doing something. I said, I don't know what to do. I said, I'm walking around here. I don't know what to do. Well, I got a break yesterday because we were blessed. My daughter, one of my great friends who happens to be my son's mother-in-law, so Killian and Amariah, they all came over to swim at our pool. We have a 22-foot pool and garden. That's all our backyard is. There's no more room. It's very tiny. And anyway, they came over and they were swimming and just enjoying. And of course, actually, Amariah wanted to be with Sparky most of the time, which is John. And then all of a sudden, my sister and her husband and my niece showed up too. So I'm burned. I am fair, and I had put on sunscreen, and I even put some more on later, but it wasn't enough because I was in the pool from before 2 p.m. till 6:30 p.m. last night, Central. And I had all these plans to work. I told John, I said, I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. I didn't get this done. He says, but we enjoyed our family. And I said, I did enjoy it. It was easy, but I didn't get my work done. But yes, you're right. Sometimes we have to stop and enjoy the most precious things that Yah's given and put work aside. So I was able to do that, and it was great. But today, guess what I'm thinking about?
Yeah, you didn't get anything done.
Yeah. So
yeah, well, it's the same thing with my daughter and her family coming to visit us for 2 weeks. But for 3 months before they showed up 2 weeks ago, I was just solid work and remodeling the house, trying to get it ready, trying to get everything kind of done and comfortable for all of us to be here. 6 people living in a very small house. And so when they were here, I got a few things done, but I purposely didn't do a lot of things. And you're talking about swimming and all of that. We live 3 miles from the beach, and these guys wanted to literally go to the beach every minute that they possibly could.
Me too. I want to do that when I go to your house too.
I know. And so it's different. We think that when we moved here that we would be doing that too, but it doesn't really work that way. But we do go as often as we can. And most of the time, almost always on a Sabbath, we like to go down there. But with them here, it's we want to be with our grandkids and Sarah and Cameron when they're at the beach, and so we go with them most of the time. But hey, so we went probably more this past couple of weeks than we would have, not that we do, but we would have. So, yeah, I'm with you. You don't get anything done.
But you enjoy the most precious things that Yah's giving you.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Well, do you want to hear some of the things that have been going on?
Talk to me.
Talk to you? Well, okay. First off, since you're a movie buff, first movie pie thrown in the face was July 13th, 1913. Yeah.
A pie thrown in the face in a movie?
Yeah, and it was A Noise from the Deep.
I see.
Mabel Normand.
I see.
Hits Fatty Arbuckle in the face with a custard pie. Yeah. And did you know that riots are not new? Because there was during the Civil War draft, July 13th, 1863, there was a fight between rioters and the military. 50,000 people attacked New York City's draft office, and 100 people are killed during the next 4 days of violence. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And let's see what else. I had something. There was a blackout, but I had something I thought you might appreciate if I can find it. Okay. I'm getting there. Okay, here it is. You know who Jean-Luc Picard is, right?
Oh, of course.
Of course. Well, he was born July 13th, 2305, but guess what else?
What else?
Okay. What is amazing is that his counterpart, okay, here we go. Patrick Stewart was born 365 days earlier, July 13th, 1940.
Run it by me again. I didn't catch
Jean-Luc Picard and Patrick Stewart have the same birthday, just 365 days apart. Imagine
365
that. 365 years.
Okay, yeah, that. Okay, well, isn't it interesting how writers can make up stuff like that? Yeah,
I just thought that was unique.
Yeah, that's something I didn't know. So I'm with you on that. That's good. I like
Harrison Ford was also born this day. Can you believe Harrison Ford's going to be 78? He is 78 today. 78.
Harrison Ford is 78. I do. I believe that. He's got a new movie out though that is I haven't seen, and I haven't watched it simply because I watched the trailer and was not impressed, because it's him and a dog way up in the Arctic or something, and the dog and so many other things are computer generated. And I just have to say, we watched the trailer and we were not impressed by this at all. And so we're not watching the movie. But I got a couple other movie picks when we get around to it.
I want to know what they are, because I want to watch them so we can talk about them on the next chapter.
Okay.
Oh, not this show. The next chapter, Thursdays, 8:45 Central.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, anyway, there's not a lot more. There is a lot more, but not a lot more. I want to say there was a transatlantic flight, July 13th, 1919. Major George H. Scott arrives in Manola, New York. He had started from Firth of Forth, Scotland. Wow. On July 2nd. Anyway, that says mouthful. Firth of Forth. Send that 10 times fast. That would be weird.
No.
The Mississippi River was discovered this day in 1832.
Discovered?
Well, discovered by Henry Rowe Schoolcraft.
Okay. How interesting. So they're walking along.
They fall in or something.
They can't go any further. They fall in. Oh, there's a river here. Oh. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's a river. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you say? What's the next line? You say, what should we call the river then? And yeah, right. Okie dokie.
Okay. Well, you know, guys, that we're just off the cuff right now. So whatever's happening, if you just like it, I'm so sorry. We're just having a little fun before we get serious.
It's what we like to do. So yeah.
I have one last fact.
Sure.
The Hollywood sign. Do you know what it used to be called?
The Hollywood sign up on the hill in Hollywood, California. What it used to be called? The Hollywood letters.
Hollywood land. They removed the land.
Oh, that I did know that. I just didn't. Yeah. Okay, you're right.
Each letter of the original sign was 30 feet wide and 50 feet high.
Oh my God.
It cost $21,000 or $320,000 in today's dollars to put it up. And they had to change the sign because vandals in 27 put Hollyweed.
In what year was that?
2017.
So in 2017?
Yeah, somebody got up there and put Hollyweed. So.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. But I hadn't heard that.
Oh, the things that happen on this day in history.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I guess it's time for us to get serious. Do you think it is, or do you think?
I just say we don't get serious at all the whole show, but we can talk about serious things in a lighthearted mood.
Okay, well, you tell me something. I always bring some fun fact. You tell me something. Let's talk to me about something.
That's lighthearted.
Sure.
Yeah, we need that, don't we?
We do.
Let's see. So many things happen. All I can think about the past couple of weeks are my two grandkids and getting to know my grandkids. That has been a blast to do, but also a 65-year-old dealing with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old has been a very lighthearted thing.
I would like to see my daughter around your boys my granddaughter, because I discovered something.
Yeah.
After Shabbat, we went out to eat.
Uh-huh.
My granddaughter's now 2 years and 5 months old. And there was a little 3-year-old something boy sitting in a booth across from our table. And that child proceeded to flirt the whole meal. I did not know. I did not know that it is inborn and natural. They were doing eyes with each other like this. And then she looked at him and she goes, A, B, C. Yeah. And, she starts singing Yeshua. So she begins to perform for this boy.
Oh, really?
Flirting back. And this went on the whole meal. And she couldn't even focus on eating or doing anything else because she was flirting with this boy. And there's this 5-year-old boy that's part of our congregation that was sitting a few chairs down. And I think he got jealous. So
really?
It was hilarious watching these little people, young babes. And I just had no idea. Flirting just came naturally. But I do remember when I was 5 years old, it was the 4th of July, and I was playing in the sandbox with my friend Larry and a couple other kids. And we were doing smoke bombs in the sandbox. We were about 5. And I liked him so much. I'm 5 years old, and I said, will you marry me? I asked him to marry me when we were much older at the age of 7.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I said, would you marry me? And we'll wait till we're old. Like when we're 7 years old, we'll get married. And his name was Larry Swan. That was the guy.
Wow. And man, you remember a whole lot more than I do at about any age at all. But
I do. I'm very blessed like that. But that can also be not good too.
Oh,
but I proposed marriage at 5. So I guess flirting can happen early.
Well, our grandboys are very sociable. Though we haven't been around anybody since they were here, any other kids or anything like that, but they have just a whole bunch of friends, back in Oklahoma where they live. Hold on just a second. I am burning up here. I got to there we go. Turn my air conditioning up and make it open here. Sorry. It gets hot in the studio if I don't have the air conditioning set just right. And it's getting, like you said earlier, it's getting hot. Though it's only about 88 today. It was 90 something, and you're in the hundreds, huh?
Like 108.
Yeah, that's about right. But you get the cool ocean breezes coming in, and do I follow that up with a na? No,
Exactly what you're doing to me right now. Boo boo, yeah.
But it's still hot out there. It's a different kind of hot. So anyway, the boys have all these different things that they do and play with, and the influence that their parents have on them is just absolutely amazing. And that's the same thing you're talking about with your granddaughter. The influences around them are tremendous. But I will have to say probably the number one thing in the past 2 weeks that I've allowed myself to do is learn from these children, is to be able to let what they do and how they act and how they interact teach me about myself. And suffer not the children to come to the Lord. And their innocence is absolutely amazing, yet they have an interesting maturity at times that really makes me think. And so I've been able to do my own self look and worth here in watching the boys and what they do, how they interact, and that type of thing. And so it's been a wonderful 2 weeks in so many different areas, but that's probably been the most rewarding thing, is to be able to watch the interaction that we have with them and learn from them. So we talk about learning from our peers, yet we can learn from a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old too. And I'm sure if you sat there and thought about it, probably wouldn't take very much. You learn things from your granddaughter all the time.
Oh yeah.
So.
I'm so in love with that child, and I am so blessed. I am so blessed that I get to be with her. You've got that distance between you, and you've told me that before. You said, Sandy, you're blessed because you're right there with her, and I am.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're blessed too. Even though they're a long ways away, we thank God for the technology that we have these days.
That's true. That is very, very true. Oh, my goodness.
Should we bring in this ghost that just fluttered in to our
fluttered? She fluttered. I think we should bring in the flutterer.
All right. Okay. So I brought her in. Hi, Joe. We'll see you later. Bye. Thanks for joining us. Hey, I have the power.
You do have are you abusing your power?
Being fun.
Normally, on the next chapter, I placed Joe up next to Sandy for the show, most of the show.
You can do that? You can place people in certain places?
I have the power.
I did not know you could do that. I just thought it sort of ended up where it ended up.
No, well, it does, but there's ways to manipulate things. And
well, you and I are going to have to talk, Mr. Mark David Smith.
Okay, well,
Bear with me. I lost my glasses, so
it's called elimination. So
it's okay. We're having fun right now. We're about to do the Torah Portion, but we're having fun.
I've been hearing about the grandchildren. I'm sorry I'm late. I just got the email. You got to text me. I don't always check my emails every morning like I should.
Yeah.
I'm very bad when it comes to that. But grandchildren, oh God, they're so much fun. They're a joy. I miss them. I FaceTime like you do, Mark. Yours are far away. Mine are far away. And the 23rd of this month, our miracle baby will be a year old, and she is completely healed from everything that caused the damage during her birth. So, hey,
Woo-hoo!
we're happy. And I got a video of her walking for the first time, one shoe on and one shoe off. And I started laughing. I said, yep, that's Joe's kid. Always losing something, a sock, a shoe, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, they are a joy and a blessing. And we got to remember that. And I am so happy, Mark, that you got that time with those boys. They are so precious. They really are. And
they look so much like him.
Yeah, they do. But everybody says, oh, we need to start cloning people. No, Yahweh already took care of that.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. That's good. That's good.
He already took care of that. Look, if you look at the latest granddaughter, that's the one that's turning 1, Madeline, she looks, my parents said, oh my God, the only difference is she has more hair than I did back then.
My granddaughter looks so much like Jonathan, like my father, like me. Yeah. So anyway. Well, guys, I think it's time to get to the Torah portion to see what Yah's going to say today, or what we're going to discuss. Well, I already know. Let's find out. Stay tuned for this.
What are we doing?
Torah portion.
Oh, we are doing. You're not doing news?
We can do news first. That's fine. I'll bring up news.
I would rather do news first. It makes it easier on me.
Okay. Well, let's do the news.
All right. We'll be right back.
Well, let me tell you, creepy Facebook wants to spy on you even more than they already are. Yeah, beware. By sending messages via hidden, inaudible TV ad messages. Well, how's that going to work? Social media giant Facebook continues to ramp up the creepy factor, according to recent file patent. Facebook wants to spy on you by hiding inaudible messages in ads. Facebook has filed a patent for a system that hides audio clips in commercials, TV commercials. These sounds would be so high-pitched that they're inaudible to human beings, but they're going to trigger your phone to record all the background noises, conversations, everything that's going on in your home. The patent application is called Broadcast Content View Analysis based on ambient audio recording. According to the Daily Mail, these secret messages would force your phone to record the audio of the private conversations you have without you even knowing. According to the patent application by the social media platform, clips taken of your background conversations and your movements across a room would help advertisers determine whether or not you are watching their promotions. According to the patent originally discovered by Metro, the system would use a non-human hearable digital sound to activate your phone's microphone. The noise, which would be the sound would be so high pitched that humans can't hear, would contain a machine recognizable set of Morse code style beeps. And once your phone hears or recognizes the trigger, it would begin to record whatever's going on in the home, such as the sound of your air conditioning unit, your plumbing, and even the movements from one room to another. And of course, your speech, even distant human speech, and including even creaks from thermal contraction. Facebook is currently working on the controversial software too, said a patent application published on June 14th this year. If you're like the rest of us, you might think these sounds are, anyway, goes on from there. But this tech is going to be used to monitor what people watch on their broadcasting service. So let's get real. This kind of thing is just an excuse to further invade the privacy and what you're doing in your life, to control you, to convict you, so to speak, of what would you be convicted of? Being a believer, to take away any stead of privacy in your life. Here's what I think: if there is any way every one of us could or would ditch Facebook completely, I wish we could do it. I wish we would do it. I wish we would completely get off that platform and stop supporting them in any form or fashion. And it's hard, I know, because I use it for a life of worship. But honestly, I'm seriously considering y'all come on in. I'm honestly considering just dump it and encourage other people to come over to Maui or something else that's
Well,
not like
the only thing I use it for, period, though it does distract me from time to time, is for marketing for the Lamb Network. You know, I mean, we broadcast on Facebook. We're broadcasting on Facebook right now, and Facebook keeps track of the shows that are coming up. They keep track of what we've shown, and people can go in there, and that's pre-set up. I don't even have to. Well, I do that when I set up the shows every week, but if we, of course, I do segments, and shameless plug for, it's not shameless at all. The plug for the website is that I do a lot of show segments and put them out there so people can watch individual or video articles that are put out, and I post them on Facebook, and that allows the Lamb Network. So in that way, that's really all I use Facebook for. I very early on, somebody described Facebook to me as email on crack. And pretty basically, that's kind of what it is email on crack. And of course, it's advanced to 1,000 times that. There is I found the other day, now both of you got the video that I just sent out on that. Now that originally came to me by someone that doesn't listen to the Lamb Network and is kind of somewhat clueless.
I wish we could play it.
And I can, and will if you want me to, or we'll do it on another show or whatever. I can do that. But that actually came to me from a different thing than Facebook, and it's called. Actually, it's not Facebook. It's a spinoff of YouTube, and it's called DTube.
DTube, yeah.
And it's very new. It's very small, but it looks and acts exactly like YouTube. Everything about it. Only there are no ads. There are no criticism. There's nothing. They're not going to kick you off or say anything, stuff like that. Though I say that, even though this guy that did this video we're talking about has an account on YouTube, but that's going over to YouTube. And anyway, they all have their own specifics. Vimeo is a little bit different thing than YouTube, but it's kind of it costs, and we don't have to pay anything for YouTube to do what we do. So Facebook, it's just following the way of the world. And why do we ever get surprised when the world does anything that it does? I mean, this thing you're talking about them watching us and what we do. I mean, they've been doing that for a long time in a lot of different areas and keeping track of things in a lot of areas. Why are we surprised when the world does the things of the world?
But think about this, Mark. Even if you're intimate with your wife, it's recording you.
What?
Even if you're intimate with your wife, it'll be recording.
You do not put that in your bedroom.
Well, but what if you're a nudist?
Well,
this is audio right now, so you say that's your TV, though. We do know the TV records.
You know what? We hear about it being audio, but they can do video. My dad was a radioman in 1960s and 70s. Okay, all the way to the 80s. He was a radioman for the United States Navy, and he will tell you, he says it already was prepared where you could take a certain component of a radio that transfers voices back and forth to where it can be switched over to where you can hear that component of the person that you have that has the radio. Sure, already was being done in those back then. Yeah. So you think it's new news to us because we're being told now, but it's, we are way behind what's going on in closed doors.
Sure.
And Facebook, I joined Facebook mainly to connect with my kids because they're all scattered everywhere. Well, now they don't even use Facebook anymore. So I have been gradually weaning myself off of the Facebook as much as possible, get off of there, get my photos off of there, and completely get off, because I have noticed one thing. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. And my husband and I and a friend of ours showed us this. A friend of mine, she did an experiment on Facebook and her phone, and she says, try it. Discuss something you never discussed before with your phones nearby, and watch how the ads on your Facebook all of a sudden start showing you these things.
Sure.
So one of the things she discussed with her daughter-in-law was birdhouses. They didn't want any birdhouses. They didn't want nothing to do with birdhouses. Next thing you know, they had everything about birdhouses on their Facebook feed. So they were already doing that. They've already been doing it. It's algorithms. It's spying.
Exactly.
Cell phones, they turn. I've seen my cell phone. I turned it off, and within a couple of seconds, it flashes and turns on, and it has the camera mode on, and I had not touched a button. It had been charging. So it happens, guys. It's there. We need to just keep talking about Yahovah in our homes, but be careful what we talk about too. If there's things you don't want anybody to know about, that's private, keep your phone away.
Why do you think Windows 10 was free?
Uh-huh.
I ask that question a lot. It's like when anybody comes up with this stuff, it says, why do you think Windows 10 was free?
And that's why I didn't install it. I still don't even have it. I refuse because I know there's nothing. I have to still go back to the Kingsman. Hello.
Well, that's nice. That's nice, but I can't do what I do without Windows 10. So my whole thing is, my whole ministry and way I make my living is based on Windows 10 technology. But so it's there, and they know that. They know that to do what needs to be done in corporate world, you have to have Windows 10, and then they've got you. It makes no difference. Once all this was set in motion, they got you. It's all there, but you just have to make the best of it and be positive about it, and don't fear it. That's all there is to it. That's the number one thing that's going through everybody that has anything to do with God these days, is just don't fear it. Period. Don't fear it.
Another thing about Facebook that the reason I'm weaning from it is it's become, to me personally, it's become almost like when you have family, like a big family, like my husband's side of the family is, it becomes a gossip mill. I mean, such and such did this and it angered me. Oh, everybody gets mad at that such and such. Or everybody's arguing about to do this or not to do this, or there's even Messianics arguing amongst each other about things they shouldn't be arguing about because it's not a salvation issue, and they get mad at each other and they just, okay, I'm unfriending you. And this brings divide. It does not bring unity. It brings bickering. It brings gossip. It brings all these things that we don't need in our lives.
Sure. Well, one of the first things I thought about and actually posted when Brad Scott passed is that Brad now gets to know things we all just wonder about. And I've had time to think since the past year, finding out what Brad was going through, and that he had accepted the fact that he was going to go on to the next stage. He knew it. I've thought about it several, because Brad and I, he's less than a year older than me. And we've talked about it, and it's one of those things where I don't want to die. I would never commit suicide, and I don't want to go quick. I've got too much to live for, but it will be really nice. And this is my peace that I have, no matter what it is that it's going to be really good to know things that I can only wonder about today. and that will be worthwhile to me. But I don't seek it by any means. But man, there's a lot of things. This just plays into everything else that's going on, Sandy. Just everything else that's going on. Another chapter, the next chapter.
I still think we are part of what we do is news. Part of what we do is get people informed, and people need to be informed. People need to be informed. Period.
I do agree. I do. With the truth, they need to be informed with the truth.
Yes, that caveat is very, very important, with the truth. All right. Well, good discussion. We can contemplate it more, but it is time for our Torah portion. So stay tuned. All right. Today we're going to talk about a vow and a promise. Are they the same? Are they different? What kind of weight does it hold? Well, let's look at scripture. Numbers, and we're in Matot Maseh this week. So scripture's Numbers 30, verse 3. If a man takes a vow to God or swears an oath, he shall not profane his word. According to whatever comes from his mouth shall he do. Look at Numbers 30, verse 6. But if her father restrained her on the day of his hearing, all her vows or prohibitions that she prohibited upon herself shall not stand, and God will forgive her. And then let's go to 30, verse 9. But if on that day of her husband's hearing, he shall restrain her, and he shall nullify her vow that is upon her. So here we are. Here we are looking at vows. Do vows matter? Well, yeah, actually, they do. Is the way that we put things important? Absolutely. Because how many times do you or I say, well, I'm not going to, or I will never, or I can't believe this happened because this happened. Our speech is full of vows and promises. Maybe not fulfilled, maybe broken. So this Torah portion in this discussion is extremely important because does it carry weight? Is it going to affect our day and the way we live when things are broken? Well, let's talk about it because these samples from Matot are the Nedarim vows. Vows are promises to do or not to do something, and by taking it, to do or not to do something. Think about all the things that you said, even in the past week. Maybe you've been frustrated and you said this, or glad and you said this. Think about it, because a vow should never be taken hastily. A vow should be, it should be performed quickly. You say you're going to do something, you need to do it, and you need to do it fast, because a vow is something that's upon us. It hangs over us. It literally is there waiting to be fulfilled until we take care of it. And when we don't keep our word, guess what we do? We actually profane our word. And scripture tells us that not performing a vow requires forgiveness. So that means it's sin. When we don't keep our word, when we don't keep our vow, even if something has happened, we are sinning. And maybe that's why Yeshua tells us to keep our words simple. It's better not to vow than to vow. Now, let's look at profane. The Hebrew word is yachel, Y-A-C-H-E-L. And it means two different things. The first one is keeping one's word, but it means to wait. So when we give our word, then we should make it wait. Slow walking to perform the promises actually is profaning the word. So when we say we're going to do something and we don't do it for days or weeks or months or even years, we are actually profaning our word. We're sinning. Procrastinating on keeping our word is a sin, guys. I mean, I don't know if you think about that, but it is. So we need to understand that when we give our word, that things are going to come up, circumstances are going to happen that try to get in the way of us taking care of what we say we're going to do, but it doesn't matter. You do it. I know one pastor, well, actually several, that we've worked with before. Well, one's been a part of our congregation. He was the last one that said it, and then he had to move back he was going to start a satellite life of worship and ended up moving back to Montana. And he said, which I agree with, and I'd heard others say before, but that he keeps his word no matter what the cost. And I think that's very important. He's a Christian guy. And he says not keeping your word is a sin. And it absolutely is. We just need to read the Torah portion. We need to read the word. But that's how important it is. Do not speak and do not say you're going to do or not going to do or whatever and then not perform it. You should keep your word no matter what the cost and expect things to get in the way. Another meaning of the word profane is to begin. So like in the day, Noah began to call the name of the Lord. So we have wait and begin. Those two things are what some of the meanings of the word profane. So with this, the word begin also applies the root word of halel, which is to be an opening wedge, to begin to defile a player on instruments. So a promise is a wedge opening the way to the promise, but unfulfilled, it actually produces nothing. It's empty. It becomes wicked. The wicked men who began to call on the name, but they produce no fruit. Have we seen that? Yeah. So when we make promises we don't keep, the words that we say, the empty words we speak are sin. Oh my goodness. Don't you know the word says that we're going to be held accountable for every idle word that we've spoken? That is sobering. It is so sobering. So when we swear on Yah's name or anything and we don't perform it, those empty words are literally pollution in our lives. They're sin in our lives, and they contaminate even the world around us. And imagine if people who weren't believers, if their words had the same weight and power, the earth would be so filled with violence, even more so than it already is. So my question is, are promises and vows the same? Yeah, because a vow is nader, and it's a promise, and it means a promise does appear to have that it basically has the same definition. Primitive root, promise, nader, vow. So guess what? They go hand in hand. But here's what's really good. We can repent from the words we've spoken. We can ask forgiveness for the vows and promises that encourage sin. But we don't need to keep speaking that way constantly. We need to change the way we speak. And we've talked about that before. We've talked about the words we say, I'm sick and tired, those kind of things. But literally, even the promises and the things that we say to one another, and it doesn't have to start with I promise or I vow. It simply can be, I'm never going to do this. I can't believe this happened. All these things, especially in passion, we say things, and honestly, we don't mean them. We may mean them at the moment, but we sit back, we calm down, and we don't mean them later. Guys, our words are so important. God's given us gifts and he's given us talents, and they're wasted and poured out because we become undisciplined. We don't keep our word, even on time. Think about it. Being on time is part of that too. You promise you're going to be a part of something and you're always late, and you always have excuses. Well, I was raised that if you're on time, you're late. If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. And if you're after the time you're supposed to arrive, then you are disrespectful of other people's time, thinking that you are more valuable. You and your time are far more valuable. Keeping your word is paramount, whether you're in ministry, whether you're outside of ministry, whether you're a mother or father, even your children. We need to show our kids what it's like to live out being a man and woman of our word, because it has consequences when we break it. It has consequences. We need to learn self-discipline. We need to learn, hey, don't make light of the words you say. Don't be respectful of others. Teach our children even to respect others' times and their words. And how can we do that if we're always the one breaking the times, breaking our word? Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. And it's something that we all need to be watchful and mindful of. Our words, our promises, our vows, even time. So what do you guys have to say about that?
Okay. I give you my word. I mean, we've heard this through the centuries. I give you my word. Okay. That's the first thing that comes through my mind with all that you say. And so to me, when we say expressions like that, then the other person trusts you based on your word. If you even don't do what you say you're going to do, you give them your word, then that trust factor starts, the level starts going down. And after you do it a few times, or even just, to me, what is it? To me, it is a violation of trust. And I mean, no matter what, the being late thing is always a huge thing to me, because I was taught similar things. On time is late, 10 minutes early is on time's late. Is what I've always just lived my life by, basically, as much as I can. My deal is that I expect from people, and that whole idea of a vow and a promise and everything is, to me, almost, I find myself, and this is, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good, because, I mean, expecting something from anybody, one person, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, whether it's a group of people or just one person, period, to expect can be a very negative thing, can be wrong. But to me, if you enter into a commitment, especially, then it's not even one thing or each individual thing. If you enter into a commitment with another person or even a group of people, then that commitment is equal to vows and promises, even in general, because whatever that commitment involves, whether it be whether being on time, or you're going to do a specific thing, or you're going to do a group thing or whatever like that, now that person in charge expects from them. And once again, the expectancy is not wrong, because it's actually on the other person that has entered into that covenant, entered into that commitment. And I think commitment, covenant, I think all of that is, a covenant is more of a formal commitment, is really what it is. But being somebody that is in charge, so to say, of a lot of people, like the Lamb Network, there are specific things that I expect from the people, and if you're in charge of a congregation like you are, Sandy, you have an expectancy based on the commitment that people bring forth. If that commitment's not fulfilled, it all falls on you to fulfill that commitment. So it really just comes down to, I'm just saying what we already all know, but yes, is vows and promises the same thing? Yeah, I mean, just the definition of it. I would almost say, though, that a vow is a formal promise, the same as what I was saying before. It's vow is almost formal. In other words, when I vow this, I am verbally giving you almost a signed document that this is what I'm doing. But vows, I think, a lot more of the time are very personal and don't always involve other people. See, whereas commitments or covenants and that type of thing, a vow to me The difference might be the difference between a vow and a promise. In my definition, in my understanding, would be that a vow almost always, to me, is a very personal thing, where a promise involves other people. So that would be. Hello there, how you doing? A good thing I was done. Huh?
All right, Joe.
Yeah, when I look at vow, the word vow, and he was talking about covenant, they're almost, I don't want to say they're the same, because there is a lot of differences in those two aspects, but we have a marriage vow. Well, I don't think it should have been marriage vow. I think we should have said marriage covenant, because it's till death do us part. And most covenants are till death do us part. But what I find interesting is one of the other things that we say is, my word is my bond. My word is my bond. We need to be careful with saying these things. And I grew up with a dad that always would say, think before you use that tongue. Think before you use that tongue, even if it is you think it's for good, because you can sit there and promise something or vow something to your heart's delight, thinking you're doing a good thing, and end up that vow gets broken or that promise gets broken. So make sure when you speak those things out that you are totally and completely committed. Now I'm going to use the word committed to do these things. You know, and I looked up the word, the difference between promise and vow, and I liked what I found here. It says a noun. As nouns, the difference between promise and vow is that promise is an oath or an affirmation. A vow, while vow is a solemn promise to perform some act or behave in a specific manner, especially a promise to live and act in accordance with the rules of the religious order. If you're living in a religious order, you know, some people have to take, like Catholic priests and bishops have to take vows, and some pastors as well. And it says, as verbs, the difference between promise and vow, notice they're both verb and a noun, is that promise is to commit to something or action, to make an oath, make a vow, while vow is to make a vow to promise. So you have both of them are the same, but yet they're just slightly different. And we need to remember that. We need to remember before you go to make that promise or before you go to do that vow, even a marital vow, guys, before you do that, because they call it a vow, your vows, make sure that you're going to commit to that totally and completely, because breaking it, yes, praise the Father. When we break a promise or a vow, we can come to him and ask for forgiveness. And that's a blessing for that. But there's other things that we do that cannot be forgiven.
Mm.
That's another whole can of worms.
Right. Well, good discussion, I think. But here's the bottom line with this. What I wanted us to think about just with this excerpt, what from our Torah portion, is ever so much we need to be mindful of everything that comes out of our mouth. And we know that. But sometimes we focus on, oh, I'm not going to say the bad things, but we're not thinking about some of the other stuff we say. Our mouth, oh my goodness. And I don't want to we could talk for, as many have, for hours about the mouth. But today, this week, always, let's try to literally do what your Father says, Joe. Say it again for us.
Think before you use your tongue.
Let's think before we use our tongue, and sometimes fast our opinion. Anyway, well, it is time for the Brit Hadashah portion of this program, and Mark is going to bring it forth.
What I have on the Brit Hadashah is Luke 13, 1 through 9, and then of course since it's a double portion, they've got another part in there, and of course so many different ministries come up with their own Brit Hadashah to do with the Torah portion, and I read over this Luke 13, 1 through 9, and was once again, almost every week, I'm baffled by the difference in translations and how hard one is to understand and another is so easier. So I'm taking it for, and almost always go to the complete Jewish Bible because it's so much easier to understand what it is. But Luke 13, 1, just then some people came to Yeshua about the men from Galilee whom Pilate had slaughtered, even though they were slaughtering animals for sacrifice. His answer to them was, do you think that just because they died so horribly, these folks from the Galilee were worse sinners than all the others from the Galilee? No, I tell you, rather, unless you turn to God from your sins, you will all die as they did. Or what about those 18 people who died when the Tower of Shiloh fell on them? Do you think they were worse defenders than all the other people living in Jerusalem? No, I tell you, rather, unless you turn from your sins, you will all die similarly. And it goes on. You know, I have labored over the subject of levels of sin, almost from day one of my salvation. I don't know. I thought about this for years because I'm getting a feedback here. Let me anyway, because and how this applies to our Torah portion, I actually kind of went and scanned through it because I couldn't. To me, the part of the actual Torah portion this would even come close to apply to would be chapter 31 on avenging the people of Israel on the Midianites, and afterward you shall be gathered to your people. I almost labor over this thing because this is what Yeshua is talking about here, in that the difference of what one person's sin is over another person's sin, and the punishment that they get. Now, in this verse, they're talking about Pilate literally slaughtered these people while they were doing their sacrifice, their animal sacrifices, and they died, wherever they're going to go. But Yeshua is saying, are you thinking that just because they died so horribly, these folks from Galilee are worse sinners? There's your key thing to me, is worse sinners. And we can almost apply that to your vows and promises here, in that, are there levels of fulfilling a vow or a promise? Is a vow a heavier weight than a promise is? In my thought pattern, I could almost place a heavier weight on a vow than a promise. Whether you, but then the answer is the same as Yeshua. Unless you turn to God from your sins, you're all going to die the same as they did. You're going to die and then go on. What our biggest fear, I think, in most people, is what happens to us after we die. I mean, once you commit your lives to the Lord and believe upon Him and believe into righteousness, then you shouldn't have a fear of this anymore. But that would be the difference to me. Yet still there are levels of sin, and the end result would be, death, period. But while we're still here on earth, there are levels of sin. There's a levels of punishment for the different sins, and that applies whether or not you are in the kingdom or in secular society and have to deal with whatever you've done that is against the law or against the civil rights of others and that type of thing. So I understand this is a little scattered, but I'm not so sure that I have a bottom line answer to this. And I'm not so sure that I got a bottom line answer from Yeshua on this passage. It goes on in Luke 13:6 to give an illustration once again, and I think this even scatters it more maybe. It says, then Yeshua gave this illustration. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came looking for fruit, but didn't find any. So he said to the man who took care of the vineyard, here, I've come looking for the fruit of this fig tree for 3 years now without finding it. Cut it down. Why let it go on using up the soil? But he answered, I'm assuming the man taking care of the vineyard answered, said, sir, leave it alone 1 more year. I'll dig around it and put manure on it. If it bears fruit next year, well, good. And if not, then we'll cut it down. And I'm not real sure that I get what the whole bottom line of this is and how it all applies. But, the mercy, I guess, is given here based on, sin, one sin over another sin, the mercy and whether or not somebody, forgives or not. But, and then as you go through the rest of the chapter, Yeshua even talks about, actually, no, it's not. It's in, oh, come on, I'm not where I need to be here. In Mark 11:12 through 23, Yeshua curses the fig tree. Never really understood that one either. I kind of get it, but I don't get the full implication of this and how it all applies. But he curses the fig tree because it didn't have a fruit in its season. And so, we can come up with ideas on that, but how does it really apply? And so with going to our vows and promises, we commit to these things and we should keep them, but are there levels of being able to keep or not keep them? So, you got me. I don't know. I'm sorry that was a little scattered, but sometimes I don't get it.
That's okay. We're dealing with issues. We're thinking about it. Joe, what do you want to say?
Wow.
I don't get it either.
The only thing that I could get from this whole thing is, what? We're all dying in the flesh from conception. And no matter how anyone dies, we're going to die. That's the only thing I can think of. There's so much in there that we can, pick and choose and go into. And I've heard story or teachings about the fig tree and the fruit and the fig tree that you were talking the other one with the fertilization and stuff, and how the tree can represent a human, us people, and we can get into that. But wow, I'm trying to. I'm trying to.
If you don't have anything, you don't have anything.
I'm dumbfounded. This is something that, Abba, you know what? You're going to have to really show me something here, because I have really nothing to say.
Yeah. So Sandy's going to solve all this for us. Thank you, Sandy. Ahead of time. Thank you, Sandy.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm going to
explaining all this to us so that we understand.
We know you're going to get this, Sandy. You always do. Oh, wait, no, you're not Yahweh, are you?
No, I'm not. And the fig tree, I have taught for weeks on just the concept of the fig tree. And in 1 minute, I don't think we got it. I don't think in a couple minutes. But if we're bringing it all together, when you were talking about commitment, Mark, I really do think, because you said that's sort of how you ended. You were speaking of commitment. You know, the fig tree, man, if we want to look at it from this perspective, when we come to Yeshua, part of what we're supposed to do is bear fruit. Why? Because he told us to go and make disciples of nations. Now, that is fruit bearing. When the fig tree doesn't bear fruit and pruning doesn't help and manure and fertilizer and word isn't causing it to bear fruit, then the tree as a person is cut down. And those are just there's much deeper meanings to that. But when it comes to commitment, here's why I'm bringing it back to that. The words we say are supposed to bring forth life and death, and they do. Our words, we don't want to say are our bond, but our words, we were created in the image of our Yah. And just as his words spoke the universe into creation, our words and our actions and our fruit speak of who we are. And there's a level of what you say, commitment. When we come and say, we are going to serve you, Father. We're going to serve. We want Yeshua to abide within us as be carriers of his presence as a walking, living ark and Torah scroll. Then there is a commitment level just with that covenant that we kept and that vow. Therefore, every word we say should be full of life. Everything we should do should be part of that covenant and commitment, whether it's to our wives, our husbands, our children, the community in general. And we have all been at that place, or even in seasons of our life, where we bear nothing. And it is a failure to our own commitment, to our promises, to the covenant, to the vow, whatever you want to call it. And so to me, it boils down to, are we going to truly walk out this life of being believers, walking in his truth, the truth, as you kept pointing out, Mark, and therefore making disciples of all nations, healing the sick, raising the dead, making the lame walk, causing the leper to be made whole? Because that is what we're supposed to be doing, bringing light into darkness and dispelling it. And without that, we are failing really in our words. Father, we're going to live for you. Yeshua, we want you in our heart. We want to be your bondservant. We want to be your child. We would, all those ways we can put it. We trust in you, but yet we do nothing. So therefore, I believe even in that, we've broken our vow, we've broken our promises, we've broken our commitment, and we're just like the fig tree that's failing to bear fruit that should be cut down. And that's just a short synopsis of just some thoughts, how it really all comes together.
It's very good, with one exception only for me, being very black and white, being very realistic, is that the fig tree couldn't choose to do anything. He was just a fig tree. And, bearing fruit all has to do with whatever. So my problem is using that analogy based on a tree that doesn't have a choice to do anything. See, so
how much more us then?
How much more us? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
That's good. But to curse a fig tree, see, to curse a living entity that doesn't have a choice. See, I don't really get that, though it doesn't falter me or my understanding or my belief system or my faith or anything like that. I don't get that part of it. So.
But that's why the vineyard owner wanted to err on the side of mercy. Wait. Don't cut it down. Let's feed it. Manure has that nourishment for that tree. Right. Let's feed it. Let's work the soil. Let's see what we can do. Let's err on the side of mercy.
I was going to say, do we really know if fig trees have a choice or not? We don't really know much about Yahweh's creation.
Seed.
What trees speak?
It all has to do with seed and harvest.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we're not going to comprehend because he is a spirit.
I get it.
Creator, and he's the one that created all these things, and he knows exactly. He can hear the trees singing to him. He knows what the birds are saying. He knows what all of the animals, all of his creation is saying. And we will probably not comprehend all of this. We're not going to comprehend all of his word at all until we see him anyway. In some ways, it's like, a lot of the brothers and sisters that have come before us, Paul, Stephen, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, even Brad Scott, and many others that have come and have been on this earth and have preached the gospel. And now they're with Yahovah. They know the answers. Yeah. They've got the answers. We're just seeking, and it says to seek, knock, and that's what we're doing here. And this is what this show is all about: is seeking, knocking, and discussing these and seeking it out.
Very good.
I am reasonable.
Well, you know what? I think it's good. I think it sort of all comes together today, as always. The shows always come together and sort of work out. So thank you, Joe, for hanging out with us today on Let Us Reason Together. It's always good to have you as a part, my sister. Always, always. It
was a good invite. Thank you for the invite. I enjoyed it, and I will miss you guys on Thursday.
Oh, stop. I'm still believing, Joe, because we prayed that that's not going to affect you. I'm still going to believe that you can be there on Thursday. You can be a voice. You can be a voice. So anyway, that's my hope and prayer, that things change and you can join us on Thursday. So.
Amen. Anyway. I will receive that.
All right. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you. We will see you next time. And until then, we all say,
wait. I got to send this out today. I'm sending an email out to all the producers and ending their shows talking about this. This Sunday, we are having our first virtual event. I'm going to tell you what, Sherry Flanagan is coming up with events. She has ideas galore. Thank God for Sherry. And she has put together this event, Hearing the Voice of God. And Valerie Moody will be speaking this coming Sunday at noon. It's kind of the same time frame and everything we're doing with the Keeping Focus conferences. And I don't know how often this is going to happen, but this Sunday at noon Eastern time, 11 Central, of course, the virtual event, Hearing the Voice of God with Valerie Moody, will be happening here on the Lamb Network. More to come.
All right. You heard it here, folks. You don't want to miss it. Valerie Moody, Sunday, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. So anyway, well, guys, we'll see you next time. Shalom.
Later.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.